girl who falls in love with a beautiful boy is touched by the feelings of her pursuers. Don't bring his ugly appearance, agree to the confession. Who would have thought that ugly guy would pursue her just to go to bed with her? Bunny is a girl who has been obsessed with beautiful boys since childhood. Just seeing a handsome boy, her heart will beat fast, and her eyes will not be able to leave. In college, she chose the sculpture department just to realize the image of the perfect boy. In my imagination with sculptural questions. Everyone thinks that a girl who values her appearance like she will find an extremely handsome guy to date. However, when the bunny introduced her boyfriend to her best friend, she was stunned. Because Bongsu, Bunny's boyfriend, looks like a dwarf clown. Neither the physique nor the face are outstanding. The best friend couldn't understand the bunny's boyfriend taste. And Bunny is drowning in the sweet gestures that Bongsu has for her. Bongsu gave her a drink with a confession, then went down to confess his love to her right in the classroom. From then on, Bongsu always found a way to appear in front of the bunny. From kneeling in the classroom, he moved to kneeling all over campus. There was also a dirty sign behind him cheering him to confess. Over time, the bunny was touched for the first time. This girl who fell in love with boys felt that love was the most important. Moreover, she felt that she was also normal, and a handsome man would definitely not like her. One day, the bunny who had just entered the school received a gift from Bongsu. Bongsu was about to wear a pearl necklace in the shape of a heart when a boy skateboarded on his right. The necklace fell and cracked. The bunny pulled the Bongsu back, and he was dancing again to make a deal with the other boy. She tried to change the subject, saying that she liked the necklace very much. After school, the bunny called to look for Bongsu. Bongsu was sitting in the radio room reading a picture when he saw a bunny calling but deliberately did not answer the phone. Bunny thinks her boyfriend is busy. Soon after, Bongsu's voice rang out from the radio, and Bongsu bragged to his friends that he was going on a trip with Bunny. To catch the bunny, he spent a lot of effort. From the beginning, his purpose in pursuing the bunny was just to sleep with her. I thought I would quickly achieve my goal, but I didn't expect the bunny to keep the gap. This time, he was going to tear the bunny apart and take action, and the whole school heard this radio broadcast. Bunny imagines Bongsu's evil face when he sees her as a joke in front of his friends, which leads him to the radio room. At this time, Bongsu's roommate came to look for him. Bongsu just realized that his phone was accidentally connected to the radio, and the conversation had just been broadcast live. He hurriedly ran out, bowed down and apologized to the bunny, lying that the words he had just said were just to brag to his friends. Bunny saw through his true face, kicked him, scolded him for being an asshole. Seeing that everyone around him was whispering and talking, Bongsu felt a loss of face. He stood up, no longer pretending, exposing Bunny that she wanted to sleep with him too, but kept pretending to be noble. He had to humble himself to be with her. The bunny couldn't take it anymore, clenched his hands, took a step back, and punched the Bongsu to the bar. She warned Bongsu, this ugly face of his, forbidden to appear in front of her anymore. After the beam was finished, the bunny jerked in front of the jade necklace and left. But she didn't notice that there were two beautiful boys in the crowd who were admiring her actions. One is Jaegun, a final year student in the sculpture department, and the other is Jaehyun, a student in the design department. The two friends comforted the bunny. The bunny made an important decision. From now on, she will only date with beautiful bottles. In love, the bunny felt embarrassed because of the broadcast. Everywhere she went, she became the focus of discussion. To avoid it, she announced that she would reserve her academic results. Her parents remembered that a few years ago, at that time, she asked to transfer schools. Suddenly, the house next door moves into a handsome guy. She was immediately happy, gave up the intention of changing schools, and every day sought to approach that handsome guy. This time, her mother secretly hoped that a beautiful boy would appear, causing her to abandon her intention to reserve. Her mother's prayer was quickly revived. When the bunny came to school with a reservation form, she happened to meet a person who was asking for directions. That person was Jaegun, who had just returned to study. When he raised his head to see Jaegun's face, the bunny seemed to see the whole world stop. In her mind, an imaginary scene appeared. Jaegun was an angel from ancient Greece, falling in love with a weak, blue girlfriend. The girlfriend turned her head. It was her face. Bunny woke up from his dream and immediately tore up the reservation form. After that, she led Jaegun to the library. Seeing Jaegun holding a book from the sculpture department, the bunny thought he was a new student. When she parted, she enthusiastically gave him her phone number, saying that she was a representative of the sculpture department, and that she was looking for her if she had anything. Saying goodbye to Jaegun, the bunny happily jumps on the road. Unexpectedly, after walking a few steps, she saw a beautiful man approaching. That person is Jaehyun, who witnessed her beating her ex-boyfriend. Bunny stood still, unable to believe that there was such a perfect face in the world. She imagined Jaehyun as the male lead in a sports drink commercial, carrying his high school girlfriend in the back seat of his bike. The girlfriend turned her head, still her face. Meeting two superb boys in a row, Bunny was convinced that her continued education was a divine arrangement. The reservation application is the most correct decision. Soon, the bunny meets Jaehyun again. Jaehyun has just finished his design assignment with his roommate. As they walked and ate comfortably, Jaehyun almost fell because he was fed by his friend. Bunny, standing next to him, didn't see that he was standing firmly, hurriedly ran to the hero to save the beauty, pushing him from behind. Who would have thought the bunny would carry a healthy pig into a guinea pig, causing the tablet in Jaehyun's hand to be thrown out, the screen shattered. Bunny, the one who caused the incident, agreed to make compensation. After checking the price, I found that the tablet was worth 2 million won. She asked in a low voice if she could pay in installments. Without waiting for Jaehyun to answer, she bowed her head and apologized, intending to flee. Jaehyun grabbed her, forcing her to give her her phone number. Sad. The bunny came to the party of the carving department to relieve his grief. Being annoyed, she saw Jaehyun walk in. Hearing Jaehyun introduce himself as a returning student, Bunny found out that he was his senior. When guiding him, she also boasted that she was a billionaire. At this time, the girl next to her told her that Jaehyun was the grandson of a family in Vietnam. Bunny felt embarrassed in front of Jaehyun, waited for Jaehyun to sit down. She kindly poured him wine. Seeing that she was uncomfortable, Jaehyun joked with her at will, then said that he didn't drink. The atmosphere is more relaxed. The bunny actively introduces herself. Hearing the bunny's name, Jaehyun immediately remembered the carving he saw in the library. The work that attracted him the most was the statue of a beautiful boy. The author's name is Bunny. Jaehyun was rejuvenated. Hearing the party organizer ask the new students to raise a toast. He was about to refuse, but the invitation to wine sounded everywhere, and his classmates called his name. Unable to refuse, Jaehyun picked up the wine glass, not knowing what to do. Bunny found him awkward, and took the initiative to drink for him. The atmosphere of the party was getting more and more exciting, and the bunny was so drunk that his eyes opened. She dreamily saw Jaehyun standing at the door looking at her. As it turns out, Jaehyun and his friends are also having a party at the restaurant next door. Since the bunny damaged his tablet, Jaehyun was frustrated and went out into the wind. Seeing that Bunny, the person who caused the incident, was still drinking carefreely, he was extremely angry. Bunny realized his anger, ran over, and drunkenly lifted his face and said, "At that time, she ran to protect this handsome face. How can there be a more handsome face in this world?" Bunny approached, looking at Jaehyun passionately. It should have been a romantic atmosphere, but the bunny vomited on him. The next morning, the bunny woke up, remembering the scene of losing face last night, regretting that he had not made a reservation. More tragically, as soon as she arrived at school, she saw Jaehyun running to calculate with her. She ran away in fear. She ran for her life in the crowd. Seeing that Jaehyun was about to catch up, she suddenly saw Jaehyun hiding behind him, begging for help. Jaehyun took a step forward, trying to pull her out, when he saw a drone flying in this direction. The emperor was afraid to dodge, and Jaehyun also followed the reaction to listen to the person to the side. Bunny saw the drone flying towards her, and quickly bent down to dodge. In the midst of the chaos, she pulled Jaehyun's shirt, causing them both to fall to the ground, and the bunny lay on top of Jaehyun. At that moment, the drone hit the balloon. Countless pieces of glitter fell, as if creating a romantic scene for the ambiguous posture of the two. Bunny was innocent with a handsome face right in front of her, immersed in a dream, unable to regain her soul. After a while, the bunny came to his senses, pushed Jaehyun away, and pulled Jaehyun, who was standing next to him, to run away. She takes Jaehyun to eat the school's specialties. These dishes are exclusive to teachers, but because she had a good relationship with the aunt who managed the cafeteria, she saved it for her. Jaehyun ate deliciously and was very satisfied. Since getting to know Bunny, his life has had many more interesting things. He felt that Bunny was an interesting girl, and wanted to have more contact with her. Passing by the statue of a handsome man sculpted by a bunny, Jaehyun stood next to the statue, took off his coat, made a dress, and asked his bunny if he looked like the statue. Bunny has always considered Jaehyun to be an arrogant male god with no worldliness. Seeing him do such a childish act, she laughed. The two were about to go for coffee when Jaehyun received a phone call. I hurriedly said goodbye to the bunny and left. Bunny glanced at the phone screen, saw the first love note. Lien Lin thought Jaehyun had a girlfriend. As Jaehyun left, the bunny received a phone call from Jaehyun, her creditor. To hide, she hung up. Soon after, Jaehyun appears behind her, asking her to go to school with him. Copying helped him to compensate for the broken tablet. Bunny resigned copying throughout the class. When she got home, she was tired and lay down on the bed, thinking that she would have to continue to transcribe for Jaehyun in the future. She felt extremely depressed. In order to pay off the 2 million won, she was going to ask her father for money, but she heard the landlord call, request an increase in the rental deposit. Reluctantly, the bunny went to work part-time at the youth art exhibition and paid in installments. Fans of The String Carver, the author of this work, are engrossed in watching. A man came to talk to her. The man pulled her out of her constant thoughts, asking her how she felt about this work. The old car bunny presents his point of view. The man was very satisfied with her answer, inviting her to go for coffee after work. Bunny arrived at the cafe on time. Agreeing to lose invitation right at the first meeting made the bunny a little worried. But she was a beauty fanatic. When she saw that handsome face again, all reservations were thrown behind his head. The man introduced himself as Azang. After that, the two chatted about the wire carving house. Bunny excitedly shared that the carver will come to her school to give a speech. Anyway, she will attend. The two chatted very happily, and when they parted, Azang asked for her phone number. Bunny lay on the bed, constantly remembering the handsomeness of the Azang. Imagine the scene of Azang holding a huge diamond ring to propose to her. She was about to agree when the obnoxious Zizan led someone to ask for 2 million won. Bunny was startled and woke up, and hurriedly transferred the 200,000 won earned yesterday to Zizan. The remaining 1,800,000, she vowed to pay it off quickly. The next day at school, the bunny saw Zegan carrying a girl in a wheelchair out of the car. She mistakenly thought that girl was Zegan's first love. Zegan temporarily left. The girl pushed the wheelchair herself, unfortunately falling. Bunny immediately ran over and helped the girl who was lying in the mud puddle into a wheelchair. Zegan turned around, sincerely thanked her, and the bunny found out that the girl was Zegan's sister. First love is also a note for his sister. His sister is a person with her brother, who wants to be the most important person in Zegan's heart. Saying goodbye to the two brothers, Bunny went to transcribe papers to help Zizan according to the schedule he sent. Seeing that she was covered in mud, Zizan took off his coat and put it on her. Her mouth criticized her, but her actions showed concern. After school, the bunny quickly ran away, accidentally meeting herself in the classroom. Her friend asked her to bring a wrist protector to help. Bunny had just put a protective pad on his hand when Zizan walked over. Seeing her like this, Zizan thought she was injured, regretting that she could not be sent to copy the article temporarily. Bunny immediately pushed the boat, pretending to be injured, and Zizan was immediately deceived. In the subsequent mural painting activity, there was the participation of both the sculpture department and the art department. He seemed to turn into someone else, regardless of whether the bunny wanted to paint or take things. Zizan spent all his time telling her to rest well. Bunny felt uncomfortable, wanting to tell Zizan that he wasn't hurt, but he was afraid that he would get angry when he found out that he had been deceived. Seeing Zizan sitting unsteadily, the bunny fell off the chair and hurriedly reached out to support him from behind. Zizan stood up straight, looked intently at her hand, and immediately realized that she was lying. Bunny reluctantly accepted the tool, completed the task by herself, and at the end of the task she met Zigan. She lamented to Zigan that she still owed Zizan 1,800,000, not knowing when she would pay it off. Zigan was just about to say that he could help her pay off the debt when the bunny saw an advertisement on the wall. The school organizes an athlete selection contest. The first prize is an innovative tablet. Bunny excitedly pulled Zigan to watch the game. Zigan doubted her strength. After all, she was tall and thin, unlike someone with strength. Bunny's two close friends are very confident, explaining to Zigan that Bunny is a famous athlete of another department. The other boys carried a bag of cement and breathed their souls, and the bunny could carry 3 bags at a time. When it was Bunny's turn, she took a step back, swinging her fist and smashing her fist into the boxing match in front of her. Sure enough, she made a big surprise, beat all the contestants, won the first prize, and received a reward. She immediately gave Zizan to pay off 2 million won, and there was no need to copy the paper for him in the future. Having solved a problem, she happily left with Zigan. Zizan looked at the shadow behind them, in his heart sour. What he wanted was not a tablet, but just an excuse to approach the bunny. He didn't want to cut off contact with the bunny just like that. Hesitating for a while, he texted the bunny to thank her for helping him transcribe all this time. At this time, Bunny is having dinner with Zigan and 2 friends. Seeing Zizan's message, she didn't reply. A friend holding her phone saw the 2 latest contacts. One was Zizan, the other was Azang. Knowing that both of them are beautiful boys, her friend has bright eyes. Bunny described Zizan as like electrolyte drinking water. His handsome face has completely changed her perception of beauty over the past 10 years. But between the 2 of them there is no longer any debt. They will not see each other again in the future. The friend asked the bunny how she felt about the Azang. Bunny felt the existence of the Azang make her glow, like printed coffee, helping her to stay awake immediately. Zigan added that he had just met and invited his daughter to coffee, which seemed a little indecent. I really want to tell 3 people that I am also a handsome guy, can be listed on the list of potential boyfriends of the bunny. Unfortunately, the girls are still talking about Zigan and Azang. At this time, Zigan was sitting hesitantly looking at the tablet, still not receiving the message from the bunny. He was worried, afraid that he would lose contact with her. The next day, meeting the bunny at the cafe, the bunny didn't seem to know him, didn't answer the question, and left. He couldn't stand it anymore, chasing after and asking the bunny why he didn't reply to the message. Bunny said bluntly that she had paid off her debt, and the 2 had no reason to see each other again. Zigan angrily said that he didn't need to see her again. He felt very comfortable. However, during class, Zigan remembered the velvet bunny, and countless images of the bunny suddenly appeared around him. Every time he was about to happily start a conversation, he was dragged back to the harsh reality. Realizing that he couldn't forget the bunny, he ran out of the classroom. At the same time, the bunny was attending the sculptor's lecture with Zigan. About to meet her idol, she was extremely excited, unable to suppress her excitement. The curtain was slowly pulled up, and the carver appeared in front of everyone. Bunny was extremely surprised. That person was Azang. She listened to the whole lecture in a dreamy state. At the end of the speech, Azang walked with her on campus, excitedly chatting with her. Zigan walked behind and was sent to the edge, and when he saw Azang reaching out to remove the petals from the bunny's hair, he felt very uncomfortable. At this moment, Zayon suddenly called out the name of the bunny. He walked in front of the 3 of them, and said that it seemed like I would have to continue to see you. Zayon realizes that he likes Bunny, and rushes to tell her that the 2 of them cannot be separated. Bunny was evil, not understanding what he meant. Zayon suddenly lost all his courage, using the excuse of lending the Loach shirt to the bunny last time, which had not yet been paid. Bunny understood what he meant, and said that he would quickly return the shirt. Zayon had no reason to go around the bunny anymore, but he could only let her leave. Fortunately, the school organizes activities between 2 faculties. Bunny and Zayon are both class leaders, so they have to meet to discuss work. After finishing the work, everyone celebrates together. During the party, everyone plays games. Bunny and Zayon were forced to drink vegetable wine, and the 2 reluctantly stood up. Preparing to drink vegetable wine, the bunny was accidentally bumped into by a passing waitress, falling into Zayon's lap. The close proximity made Zayon's heart beat wildly. However, the bunny slammed his head against him again. Both of them shook their heads, and then sat down. The vegetable wine failed, and after the festival, Zayon waited for the bus with the bunny. Seeing a truck coming, he quickly pulled Bunny back, but she was splashed with water by the car behind her. Seeing that Bunny was angry, Zayon was depressed. He wanted to win her heart, but it always backfired. When she got home, the bunny angrily told her bad luck when she was with him. The next day, during class, the bunny asked Zigan to make a drawing model. Looking at the finished work, she praised the handsome model. Just drawing in any direction can become a famous painter. Zigan was complimented, happily joking that he was very confident in his beauty. While talking, the 2 saw Azang appear. Azang came here to work, by the way, to visit the bunny. Looking at the bunny's painting, he praised her for her talent for painting. Bunny takes the opportunity to invite Azang to participate in the graduation interview, which is the task assigned to her by the student council. Azang thought about it and agreed. Normally, he hardly accepted an interview. But because the inviter was a bunny, he agreed without hesitation. Loved by her body, the bunny is shy. Immediately afterwards, Azang approached, removing the petals from her hair. Bunny seemed to filter into a dream, overjoyed. This scene has just been seen by Zayon and his roommates. My roommate thought that Azang was rubbing Bunny's head, joking about the shady atmosphere between the two. Zayon is jealous but does not have the right to come and drag the bunny away. Bunny couldn't stop remembering Azang's smile, completely helpless in front of him. Zigan realized that Azang seemed to mean her. Bunny was secretly happy that she had successfully conquered her idol, still with her back as if in a blur. She didn't want to guess what Azang thought of her. As long as she could contact him, she would have made a wish. But she didn't know that Zayon, who also thought that Azang meant to her, couldn't calm down. Zayon and Yu are admitted to the Center for Young Arts Creation. When they both arrived, they didn't expect the neighbor next door to be Azang. Azang took the initiative to pick up his new neighbor. The roommate was confused by being loved, and hurriedly shook Azang's hand. Zayon was hostile to Azang again, ignoring his handshake. The interview began, and all three girls, including the bunny, stared at Azang. Being in close contact with a famous sculptor, he is also a handsome guy. No one can resist this attraction. Azang's eyes were always on the bunny, not hiding his affection for her even in the middle of hiding in a crowd. Zayon saw the two exchange glances, his heart full of discomfort. During the long break, the two girls came to ask Azang some questions. Seeing that the bunny was also going to follow, Zayon immediately took the excuse of needing her help and dragged her into his office. At the end of the break, Zayon went to the next room to look for Azang. Accidentally seeing Azang soaring over the face of one of the other two girls, their posture looked like they were flirting. He directly walked over to remove the microphone for Azang, and found that during the break, Azang forgot to turn off the microphone. The interview room was over, and the bunny thanked Azang for his help. Azang invited her to play alone next time. Bunny received the signal from Azang, and shyly agreed. Everyone packs up to go home, but the other three are all busy, leaving only Bunny and Zayon behind. Bunny arranged her belongings, but because of her limited height, she couldn't reach the overhead box. Zayon walked over to help, inadvertently hugging her in his arms. The close contact and height gap create a romantic atmosphere, and Zayon looks at her intently, unable to take her eyes off. Bunny was a little embarrassed, hurriedly escaped from Zayon's arms, and was about to leave, but found the door locked. Zayon came to try to open it, but it didn't work. The two took out their phones and tried to call for help, but found that there was no signal. While waiting for someone to pass by to ask for help, the bunny tells the ghost story to Zayon. Zayon covered his hands, not daring to listen. The bunny finally found out Zayon's weakness, laughing at him cowardly. Time passed minute by minute. Bunny wanted to go to the bathroom. She pulled Zayon's shirt, looked at him with pleading eyes, hoping he could think of a way. Zayon understood her dilemma, and immediately took out the hammer in the toolbox and smashed the lock. Coming out of the toilet, Bunny saw that Zayon's hand was injured, and carefully fried his personal bandage, thanking him for helping her. When the relationship between the two was calming, Zayon advised her, "Azang didn't look very good, don't go back and forth with him." Bunny did not listen to his advice. On the contrary, he thought that it was impolite for him to speak ill of others behind his back. The next day, the model of the new carving department was sick and had to take a break. To solve the problem, Zigan volunteered as a model. Bunny immediately refused. Zigan is also a student of the sculpture department, and he can't neglect his studies because he is a model. At this moment, she saw Zayon walk out of the office. Bunny pulls Zayon into class, asking him to be a model. Zayon has never been a model, somewhat embarrassed. Zigan deliberately provoked, "If you can't do it, let me do it. After all, I have experience as a model." Zayon was stimulated, unbuttoned his shirt, and put his bare hands on his hips, creating a handsome look. Bunny was attracted by Zayon's handsome appearance, once again feeling his charm. But she didn't understand why Zayon kept staring at her. His gaze made her feel like the two of them were the main man and woman in a love story, having just met a big love. Realizing that he was thinking absently, the bunny hurriedly stopped, telling himself that Zayon was not the male protagonist, but the devil. She couldn't be enchanted by the eyes of the devil. At the end of the lesson, the bunny gave water to thank Zayon. Before the two of them had finished talking, she received a phone call from Azang, inviting her to come to her office to play tomorrow. Zayon recalled the image of Azang flirting with the girls, wanting to advise the bunny not to come. But Bunny didn't like to hear him speak ill of Azang, and finally thanked him and then went back to the classroom. In the evening, the bunny excitedly shared the good news of tomorrow's meeting Azang with his best friend and Zigan. My best friend thought that this was obviously a date invitation. Zigan seemed a little sad, and followed suit. Bunny happily went to Azang's office, and as soon as he arrived at the door, he met Zayon. Zayon couldn't calm down anymore. He imagined the scene of Bunny and Azang in love about to kiss. In order to ruin their date, he deliberately filled in the food delivery address into Azang's office. At this time, Azang was holding the bunny's hand to teach her something else. A romantic atmosphere was suddenly broken by the food shipper. Zayon took the opportunity to poke his head in to examine the situation inside. Azang saw through Zayon's thoughts, and immediately took the bunny to the dating park. Zayon was impatient like sitting on a fire. To verify if Azang was the one who touched him, he took out the microphone and kissed the interview. Listen to the recording of the conversation between Azang and the other girl. Seemingly hearing something, Zayon clenched his hand, immediately ran to the park to find Bunny, and pulled her hand away. Bunny tried to get out, his expression puzzled, and asked him why he was here. Zayon said frankly that Azang was not a good person, and resolutely objected to Bunny going back and forth with him. In his anger, he also reminded the bunny that he had been deceived emotionally, advised her not to step on the tracks of the fallen car and become a harvester. Bunny was hurt by this sentence, but the other thing is to warn Zayon that her love affair is a private matter, has nothing to do with him, and forbids him to interfere. Zayon had no choice but to stop Zigan, Bunny's best friend, from showing him an important recording. In the recording, a girl after spending the night at Azang's house full of hope asks if she has the status of girlfriend. Azang spoke contemptuously again, thinking that spending the night was not a big deal, promising to give her a name later. Realizing that Azang was both flirting with other girls and vaguely flirting with Bunny, the two quickly discussed a pair of books. They wanted to find a way to separate the two without letting the bunny know the true face of the Azang, in order to minimize her hurt. Zigan immediately hired a private detective to investigate Azang's private life, quickly receiving intimate photos of Azang with many girls. Knowing that Azang took advantage of the name of a sculptor to deceive the feelings of many college girls, Zigan immediately told Zayon the truth. They both understood that although the truth might hurt Bunny, they couldn't continue to hide it. Zigan hurriedly called the bunny, only to find out that she was on her way to Azang's exhibition. As it turns out, after arguing with Zayon that night, the bunny returns to find Azang, suddenly discovering that he is still waiting for her there. She asked anxiously about the relationship between the two, and said openly, implying that he does not arbitrarily lead others into the office, nor is it easy to date anyone. Bunny discreetly recognized the hidden meaning in his words, silently in his heart. The next day, Azang approached the school to meet the bunny. When the two were preparing to go for coffee, a food delivery man drove by, almost crashing into the bunny. Azang quickly hugged her in his arms, and by the way, grabbed her hand. Immersed in happiness, Bunny was overjoyed, believing that holding hands meant that the two were officially dating. Returning to the dormitory, the bunny could not hide her joy, and hurriedly shared her relationship with Azang to her roommates. His roommate knows that tomorrow is the last day of Azang's exhibition, and asks the bunny to give him flowers with a letter from his girlfriend. The next day, the bunny hugged the bouquet of flowers to the exhibition on the way. She received a phone call from Jiguin. What surprised her was that when she learned that she was going to the exhibition, Jiguin immediately threw off the phone. At this time, she still didn't know that Jiguin and Zezin were rushing their motorcycles to the exhibition. At the exhibition, the bunny was accidentally stepped on by someone else. After adjusting her shoes, coming out of the toilet, she saw a bright shadow. To surprise him, she quietly followed. However, this surprise immediately turned into horror. She witnessed Azang kissing a female student in the student council with her own eyes. The bouquet of flowers in her hand fell to the crack, waking up the two people who were immersed in a kiss. At the same time, Zezin and Jiguin rushed over breathlessly. The two wanted to take the bunny away, but she insisted on an explanation. She walked in front of Azang, and immediately asked him why he was deceiving her, playing this ambiguous game. Azang playfully replied that he had never said he wanted to date her, that she was polyamorous herself. Confirming that the student council girl was also deceived by Azang, the bunny was extremely angry. She stormed into the exhibition hall in front of reporters and guests, and threw a kick on the Azang's head. Seeing that Azang was about to resist, Jiguin stayed behind to deal with the consequences, leaving Zezan to take the bunny first. Going outside, the bunny couldn't suppress her sadness, sat on the ground and sobbed. Zezan quietly took off the tunic coat on her head, so that she could comfortably let go of her emotions. Waiting for her to calm down, Jiguin drove her home. Along the way, Jiguin kept telling her jokes. Seeing her smile, Jiguin breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing her sad, Jiguin also felt sorry. Arriving at the dormitory, the bunny told her roommate about being cheated. The roommate ate and made a donation. It turns out that now her boyfriend candidates are only left with Zezan and Jiguin. Experiencing 2 failed love affairs, consecutively encountering 2 Soka guys, Bunny felt that he was incapable of looking at people, and decided that from now on he would not be able to fall in love anymore. The roommate hurriedly advised, saying that she had known Zezan and Jiguin for a long time. It was enough to judge that the 2 of them were not possessors. Bunny thought about what you said. Feeling that Jiguin has a sister, his attitude towards her was like taking care of his sister. As for Zezan, although there were many ambiguous moments when he was with him, but Zezan's monotony made her feel that he only liked to play with her. The roommate's prayer quickly came true. The news reported that the Cheon Group, the company of the Jiguin family, had cancelled its sponsorship of Azang. Photos of Azang with many victims were also released. He is considered the worm that makes the soup oil of the other world. In another development, Zezan sealed the jackfruit, launched a motorcycle to spray tear gas on the Azang, practical action to take revenge on the bunny. After ruling together against those who possess the Lord, Zezan and Jiguin begin to probe each other's feelings for the bunny. Both of them didn't want to reveal their thoughts first, but they silently considered each other enemies. Bunny didn't know what the 2 of them were thinking. When she met Zezan in the student council, she solemnly thanked him for preventing her from being deceived by the boss. Zezan wasn't sure if the bunny was really in danger or if he was just trying to be comfortable, but he was quite satisfied because the 2 no longer confronted each other. Once, Bunny and Jiguin had lunch together. Coming out of the cafeteria, they saw Zezan's group filming a video. Bunny watched Zezan work seriously and professionally, and couldn't help but admire. She never thought she would see such a charming Zezan. While watching, the crowd suddenly became crowded. Jiguin was afraid that she would fall, so he grabbed her and pulled her out of the crowd. This scene was seen by Zezan, and his heart ached. During the group celebration party, he constantly remembered that image, borrowing a long and sad speech. In the dreamy car, Zezan looked for the bunny's phone number in the contact book, but he didn't have the courage to call. When he got up to meet the person on the stairs, he was surprised to see that it was a bunny. He thought that because he was too nostalgic, he gave birth to hallucinations. His thoughts returned to the past. That year, when he was looking for a classmate, he fell in love with Bunny at first sight. In order to have more opportunities to contact her, after being discharged from the army, he deliberately took the exam to enter this school. But unfortunately, when they met again, the bunny had a boyfriend. After that, the 2 gradually had contact, going together until now, but he still didn't have the courage to confess. Even at this moment, in the midst of drunkenness and jealousy, Zeon couldn't hide his feelings anymore. "Hey Bunny, why do you keep making me angry? It seems that I like you anymore." Bunny, after hearing Zeon's confession, immediately imagined Zeon holding flowers and rings, kneeling down to propose to her. In the movie, she grew a pure white wedding dress, happily walking towards the waiting Zeon. It should have been a happy moment, but unexpectedly, the police appeared, saying that they wanted to arrest her for the crime of delusion of power. Bunny refuses to admit guilt, begging Zeon to help her prove that she is not delusional. But Zeon's gentle face suddenly became fierce, mocking her for not being qualified to marry him. Bunny was startled to wake up, feeling that she was really polyamorous herself. Maybe last night Zeon was just talking nonsense. The word liking that guy didn't mean anything. When he met Zeon at school today, the bunny was a little shy, but Zeon didn't seem to remember anything about last night's confession. Bunny reminded him of his childish actions when he was drunk on the street last night. Finally, he talked about how he confessed his love to me. Bunny thought that Zeon would use the excuse of being drunk to explain his act of confessing his love. Suddenly, Zayon made it clear that he really liked Bunny. Bunny was confused by Zayon's words. During the meeting, she couldn't help but stare at Zayon's face. Thinking back, she still didn't believe that Zayon really liked her, but here was a new way for Zayon to bully her. After studying, the bunny made an appointment with Zigan to go to the library. Zigan was called back by a female friend to ask questions, and the bunny had to go to the library alone. She looked for a seat, and as soon as she looked, she saw Zayon in the crowd. Zayon refused a male student who wanted to sit next to him, waved to the bunny back, saying that he had reserved a seat for her. Bunny didn't understand what Zayon was thinking, so he asked directly what he did wrong this time. Zayon first confessed his love, then reserved a place for her, and kept staring at her, making the bunny bewildered. Zayon approached, looked at her expectantly, and told her to think carefully about what his reason for doing so was. Before Bunny could say anything, the library suddenly lost power. At this time, the loudspeaker announces that everyone moves down to the first floor by the emergency exit stairs. During the chaos, someone bumped into the bunny. Zayon quickly picked her up, telling her to grab him by the sleeve and go downstairs. Bunny shyly grabbed his sleeve tightly and conveniently went down to the first floor. Zayon wanted to be with the bunny a little longer, said that there was a very good place to study, and invited the bunny to come and study with him. Being alone with Zayon makes Bunny uncomfortable. The girl lies and wants to go home to rest. Goodbye to Zayon. The two roommates took the bunny to another place to study on their own, and also called Zigan to come. The four of them who had just arrived met Zayon and his roommate. Seeing Zayon's probing gaze, the bunny was very embarrassed. At this moment, Zayon's roommate carrying a large bag and a small bag appeared, insisting on dragging everyone to eat barbecue. So the self-study plan was cancelled, and the group went to Zayon's studio and sat together. Zayon intimately adjusted the bunny's shirt in front of everyone. Zigan realizes Zayon's pursuit and Bunny's discomfort. He also took the initiative to pick up the meat for the bunny, but Zayon was quicker, placing the meat in front of the bunny. Zayon is not satisfied when the bunny calls Zigan Appa, but he calls himself the headmaster. Everyone recognizes the underlying tension between the two. To convey the topic, the bunny offered to go buy water, and Zigan took the initiative to get up. Zayon also refused to give up, insisting on going with Zigan. When he arrives at the convenience store, Zayon is jealous because Zigan follows Bunny all day, questioning if Zigan likes Bunny. Zigan also warned him, if you treat the bunny well just to play or joke, stop. Zayon seriously told Zigan that he was serious about Bunny. After the confrontation, the two returned to the studio, and as soon as they arrived at the door, they saw a haze of smoke coming from inside. Realizing that the bunny was in danger, the two immediately ran as if flying inside. Just now, after the two of them went out, the barbecue smoke triggered the fire alarm. The roommate poured water into the grill to cool down. The greasy water rose up and smoked more hazy. The sprinkler system activates automatically, causing chaos in the studio. Zayon ran and first saw everyone standing in the hallway. Only the bunny inside checked the filming equipment. He anxiously pulled the bunny out, carefully checking if she was injured. After determining that the bunny was okay, he breathed lightly into the group. The two roommates hadn't teased the bunny yet, saying that Zayon's eyes were full of love in her eyes. Obviously they liked her. Bunny also felt Zayon's anxiety earlier. She lay on the forest remembering her friend's words. At this moment Zayon called. Zayon asked him if she had returned home safely, heard her voice a little cold, and told her to cover her feet carefully and rest early. Bunny remembered Zayon's caring actions after confessing his love, and his heart was also stirring. The next day, she saw the cold medicine on the table, remembering Zayon's words last night to remind her to rest early, and immediately thought that the cold medicine was given by Zayon. At this time, Zayon happened to meet his mother, who was accompanying the professor at school. His mother has a rich relationship, changing her boyfriend like a teacher. He didn't want to interfere in his mother's private life, but this time his mother targeted the professor beside him. Zayon begged his mother to think about his feelings, not to bother with the people around him. When his mother heard this, she blamed him for hindering her from finding happiness. Zayon was angry, so the reason why his mother took him with him in the past was to get child support money from his father, not because he loved him. His mother did not obey when he blamed her. The mother and daughter quarreled and left unhappy. Zayon sadly went to the studio to look for the bunny. He remembered the first time he met the bunny. She was busy in the sculpture room with sad hair. He asked the bunny why he didn't tie his hair up. Seeing that the bunny's hands were covered with plaster, he walked over and gently tied her hair to help her. The atmosphere became ambiguous, and the bunny couldn't control his heart. After tying her hair, the bunny saw that Zizan took out the cold medicine from her pocket and told her to take the medicine on time. Bunny realized that the cold medicine was not given by Zizan. Zizan guessed that it was Zigan. He held Bunny's hand, emphasizing that she must take the medicine he bought. The next day, the bunny and two friends saw the fried porter in the school. It was announced that Senior Hansel Zium, who went to work at the television station after graduating, will return to the school to preside over the school's founding celebration. The three admirers praised Hansel Zium as both beautiful and talented. It is an existence that they can only admire from afar. Only Zizan looked at Hansel Zium's porter with a contemplative expression, seemingly remembering the old story. Recently, the engraving department entered the midterm exam, and the teacher commented on each person's work. Bunny, who was always at the top, was criticized again this time. The teacher pointed out that her work lacked enthusiasm. If she is not more focused, the number 1 position will be replaced. Bunny was sad. If he didn't get first place, there would be no scholarship. She doesn't want her parents to have to struggle to pay high tuition fees. Zigan saw that she was sad, so he took the bunny to the bank of the river in the wind. Ironing her was only a temporary disappointment. As long as she tried her best, she would definitely overcome the difficulties. Thanks to Zigan by his side, the bunny was able to get rid of his worries and regain his confidence. When she got home, seeing the cold medicine on the table, she couldn't help but remember Zizan. Remembering the sweet moment when Zizan tied her hair, she couldn't help but blush, her heart racing. I definitely liked Zizan. The next day, meeting Zizan at school, the memories of her and Zizan since they knew each other like a tour movie flashed back in her mind. The two walked and chatted happily, and after walking a few steps, they met Zigan. Zigan thought they were going to school together, but Bunny explained that they had just met by chance. Hearing Zizan carefully admit that the bunny doesn't need to explain, it's okay for the two of them to go to school together. Zigan got angry, deliberately asked the bunny if he felt uncomfortable when he went to the river last night. He raised his hand to check if the bunny had a fever. Zizan was quicker, covering the bunny, not letting Zigan touch it. The fight between the three is broken by the sudden appearance of Hansel the Hungry. Everyone, including the bunny, exclaimed that Hansel was so beautiful. Hansel walked towards Zizan step by step, asking him how he was doing. Bunny witnessed the scene of Hansel calling Zizan away, realizing that the relationship between the two was not normal. She felt inferior, laughing at her innocence, thinking that only excellent girls like Hansel are worthy of Zizan. Although she tried to hide it, Zigan and her two roommates still noticed her abnormality. At this time, a roommate accidentally saw a photo of Zizan and Hansel on the school website. Zizan and Hansel used to be a couple when Zizan had not yet transferred schools. Bunny was hurt by the sweet photos of the two, so much so that the whole class was dumbfounded, accidentally cutting off his hand. Zigan escaped when he saw that she was injured, wanting to bandage her. Bunny smiled wryly, explaining that if you learn something else, getting injured is a bad thing, no need to worry. After studying, the bunny left alone, and Zizan hurriedly ran to call back. It turned out that Zizan had also seen the photo online, worried that the bunny misunderstood, so he deliberately came to explain. But when I met a bunny, I didn't know where to start. Bunny remembered the scene of Zizan standing next to Hansel shyly, even more sad in his heart. In order to evade, she took the opportunity to have a job and hurriedly left. To help the bunny out of sadness, Zigan specially took his sister with him, inviting the bunny to eat. Bunny takes the two of them to eat a piece of bread they've never eaten. This new experience made the two Zigan brothers very excited. Every time they are with the bunny, they always have interesting surprises. Zigan's sister realizes that his brother likes Bunny, so it was time to break up. But when the two didn't notice, she took a picture of them standing next to each other. On the other hand, Zizan had no idea about this meal. He was sad because of the cold attitude of the bunny these days. He thought about how to get closer to the bunny. As he was thinking, he saw Bunny and Zigan walking together. Before he had time to ask, a basketball suddenly flew towards the bunny. Zizan quickly rushed over, stretched out his hand to support the ball in front of the Zigan. He warned the boy who plays basketball to be careful. Ironically, Zigan reacted slowly, staying by the bunny's side without protecting her. Zigan refused to love that, refuting Zizan's penchant for showing. The three of them argued while walking into the classroom, not paying attention to the basketball boy who was still looking at them. To earn money to buy raw materials, Bunny went to the film club to work part-time. The roommate who had made an appointment to accompany him had an unexpected job. Zizan learned that Lean asked to accompany the bunny instead of her friend. The director saw two talented boys and girls, and arranged for them to play the role of lovers. During the rehearsal, Zizan took the opportunity to explain the relationship between him and Hansel Ziem. He was disappointed that the bunny had never asked him about this. Seeing that the bunny stopped to listen to me, Zizan seriously explained that he and Hansel Ziem were no longer related to each other. I hope you don't misunderstand. Bunny's heart flashed with hope again, not refusing when Zizan held her hand. It was raining heavily that day, and Zizan took off his coat to cover her from the rain. At that moment, the bunny vibrates. The painting props on the set are wet with rain. The director is worried. Bunny took the initiative to correct the painting. Zizan stood next to her, his eyes complaining about her sympathy. Arriving at the dormitory, the bunny told his roommate about the ambiguous relationship between him and Zizan. A friend thought that Zizan and Hansel Ziem were in the past. Even if there is contact, they are no longer lovers. The other friend thinks that they have been in love since high school, and it is possible that she will resume her old love. After discussion, everyone thought that if the bunny trusted Zizan, they could try to find out. If in doubt, you should stop at the right time. Bunny was confused and spent the whole night naked thinking about how to choose. She remembered Zizan's serious expression when explaining her relationship with Hansel Ziem, and she decided to trust him. The next day, Zizan invited the bunny to eat spaghetti with him tomorrow, and the bunny understood that this was a date invitation. After a period of ideological struggle, she decided to trust Zizan and agreed to meet him privately. Returning to the studio, the bunny shyly asks Zigan if Zizan's invitation to her to eat alone is considered a date. Zigan saw that she was looking forward to the date, crying in her heart. The work was about to be completed, and Zigan saw that the bunny's nose was covered with plaster dust, and she didn't notice. Zigan approached gently, wanting to wipe her. At this moment, Zizan's voice rang out, interrupting that action. Zizan wanted to talk to Zigan privately. Questioning him in the end is whether he doesn't realize his feelings for the bunny or deliberately hides it. Zigan explains that he and the bunny are just friends. Zizan didn't believe it, returned the dropped Zigan wallet, and warned him not to act intimately with the bunny anymore. When Zigan took the bunny home, looking at the happy figure of the bunny after getting off the car, he opened his wallet and looked at the photo of himself and the bunny together for a long time. Zizan remembered the scene where Zigan approached the bunny. Jealousy arose. To get Bunny's attention, he called her and made an appointment to meet her at 7 p.m. tomorrow at the subway station door. Before pulling off the phone, hearing the bunny call him Appa, he happily rolled around on the bed, looking forward to the date. Bunny was also very happy, thinking that the two were in a sweet ambiguous period. But this joy did not last long. The next day, she finds Hansel, Ziem, and Zizan together again. Hansel and Ziem wanted to talk to Zizan privately, but he coldly refused. During class, Zizan remembered what happened a few years ago. At that time, he and Hansel and Ziem were in love passionately. But on his birthday, Hansel and Ziem suddenly wanted the two of them to be apart temporarily for a while. He didn't understand why Ziem said bluntly that being with him made her feel bad. After calming down, he wanted to hold on to his feelings, but he learned that Hansel and Ziem were going to study abroad, and didn't even say goodbye. 2 years later, Zizan saw Hansel, Ziem on TV. He thought that the two would never see each other again, and he didn't expect her to appear in his life again. Zizan was rejuvenated, preparing to go on a date with the bunny, but as soon as he got out of class, he was stopped by Hansel and Ziem. Ziem wanted him to have dinner with me. Zizan couldn't stand it anymore. The people who proposed to break up, and the people who left without saying goodbye were all Hansel and Ziem. He was not obliged to wait for her forever. Unexpectedly, Ziem said that she had never said goodbye, she just needed time to calm down, which meant that she would still come back. Zizan didn't want to play word games, took her as he used to, begged her not to come to him anymore. Bunny had no idea about the tears in his eyes between the two, anxiously waiting for Zizan. Seeing Zizan appear, she waved her hand happily. But soon after, she saw Hansel again, and Ziem chased after Zizan. Hansel and Ziem thought that Zizan's anger with her proved that he still had feelings for her, and was not committed. so he chased after her to confirm. Seeing the 2 melon strings, the bunny's heart grew cold. Standing here, she was like a clown who was involved in other people's love affairs. In order not to be too awkward, she sadly turned her back and left. Seeing this, Zizan decisively pushed away Hansel's hand. Zizum ran to grab Bunny's hand and kissed her in front of Hansel Zizum. But Bunny thinks that he deliberately took advantage of him to provoke Hansel and Zizum. Because she was so heartbroken, she didn't want to hear any explanation and left angrily. Arriving home, the bunny looked at the pile of clothes on the bed. The hatred of the date that I had worked so hard to prepare ended up turning into a joke. Zizan was also upset, and when he got home, he received a message from Hansel Zizum. Hansel Zizum made it clear that even if he kissed the other girl right in front of him, her feelings would not change. The next day, the bunny who had just arrived at school met Zizan. She longed for a clear answer, and took the initiative to ask what yesterday's kiss meant in the end, and whether the two are now considered dating. Seeing Zizan's hesitant expression, the bunny was completely disappointed, even more certain that he was just taking advantage of him. She angrily criticized him for being a male father like her ex-boyfriend. Returning to the drawing room, the bunny confides in Zizan about the failed date. She frankly said that she knew this early, it was better to go out to eat with Zizan at first. It turned out that the night before, it was Zizan who drove the bunny to the date spot. At that time, seeing that Zizan had not answered the bunny's message, Zizan delicately invited her to dinner with him. But the bunny at that time was eagerly expecting Zizan to come, so he happily got off the car. After the bunny left, Zizan found her lipstick forgotten in the car. When he chased after him to return it, he happened to witness the scene of Zizan kissing the bunny. He thought that he would soon receive the news that the two were officially dating, but unexpectedly it was a not very happy ending. Zizan's sinking heart heard the Hope Group again. In the activities of the student union that Bunny and Zizan participate in, he enthusiastically invited everyone to drink coffee, and also took the initiative to help the bunny distribute leaflets. In the middle of the activity, he looked for Zizan to talk privately, blaming Zizan for always telling the truth to the bunny but hurting her. At the same time, he warned Zizan not to hurt Bunny in the future. After the activity ended, he took the excuse of congratulating the bunny's roommate, invite both the bunny and the 2 roommates to their house for a hearty dinner. The 2 roommates quickly realized that his real purpose was to comfort the bunny's broken heart. Under the questioning of his friends, the bunny frankly admitted that he and Zizan were over. As it turned out, before going to the Zizan's house, the roommates saw that Zizan was handing out leaflets alone, so they planned to let the bunny stay to help and foster affection. But Bunny refused, resolutely going to Zizan's house with his friends. Listening to the bunny tell the reason for clarifying her gender with Zizan, her roommates were all dissatisfied on her behalf, given that giving up Zizan, who is still in a relationship with his ex-girlfriend, is the right choice. After a few glasses of wine, the 2 roommates were drunk. Only the sober bunny sat down to confide in Zizan. Zizan was worried that she would be ordered, so he carefully covered her with a thin blanket. Bunny sighed that Zizan was both handsome and gentle. He also joked that if another girl was treated like that, he would definitely misunderstand his feelings. Feeling the somewhat vague concern in Zizan's words, Bunny was a little unnatural, so she got up and changed the subject, praising the beautiful night scenery. She didn't notice that Zizan's eyes were always watching her, and he couldn't help but say that the beauty was her. The 2 people who were chatting harmoniously at this time did not know that Zizan was in a bad mood, and he had been drinking all night to relieve his grief. After regaining consciousness, the disappointed look of the bunny kept appearing in his mind, making his heart throb in pain again. The student union continues to prepare for the activities of the school celebration. There are female friends who come to 8 stories with the bunny. It is said that the most anticipated activity in the festival is the public confession performance. Bunny expressed that any girl who confesses her love in front of the crowd must be very happy, because it means that the other person loves her so much that she is willing to publicize her love to the whole world. Zizan cut off the confession slogans while listening to the conversation between the 2. His gaze stopped for a long time on the words "I want to celebrate Christmas with you," and then sank into thought. The preparations were finally over, and the bunny left the student union office first. But she was astonished to see Zizan's mother being taunted by a professor's wife as a divorced fox. She hurriedly ran to the 2 of them, advising them to talk calmly. The professor's wife advertised in the crowd that Zizan's mother seduced married men. Zigun's mother countered that it was the professor who had deceived her, and that she was the victim. At that moment, Zigun rushed to block in front of his mother. He bowed his head to apologize to the professor's wife, then quickly pulled her mother away from the crowd. After staying away from everyone, he angrily criticized his mother for losing face. His mother screamed excitedly that it was the professor who pretended to be single to cheat on her. She was heartbroken because Zigun not only did not defend her, but also followed the professor's wife to criticize her. She thinks that there is nothing wrong with her sincerity. The fault belongs to the professor who played with her feelings. His mother's words reminded Zigun of himself. Perhaps in the eyes of the bunny, I was also the one who teased and then took no responsibility, an indecisive bastard. He couldn't continue to criticize his mother. He could only turn around and leave. That night, Zigun was alone in misery. His mother's story and the pain he caused to the bunny made him extremely disappointed in himself. But he didn't expect that the bunny would suddenly appear in front of him. Bunny remembered the dwarfism of Zigun's mother and the professor's wife in front of everyone. Shang Zigun had to endure strange eyes. After thinking for a while, she took him to her secret place, wanting to comfort him. Zigun took this opportunity to apologize, explaining that the kiss on date night was just while her father was lying to keep her. Absolutely no intention of taking advantage. Bunny looked at Zigun's sincere expression and decided to believe what he said. But before she had time to say forgiveness, the security guard came and asked the two to leave. Bunny returned home and found that his father was rearranging the content of his mother's interview. And my mother was reading a magazine. Dad saw the handsome man in the magazine, immediately jealously said that it was my mother's ex-boyfriend. The two of them used to be a famous star couple. That year, everyone thought that my father could not compare with my mother's ex-boyfriend. But he never gave up because he always believed that love belongs to the brave pursued. Daddy's words made the bunny feel hopeful. Perhaps she and Zigun also needed this courage to not give up. Bunny wanted to give Zigun one more chance. At this moment, Zigun's roommate, he saw the problem between the two of them and became an effective assistant. The friend lied that Zigun had a cold, and I was too busy to take care of him. Asked the bunny to bring porridge and a notebook to Zigun's house. When the low bunny slammed the door, she didn't expect that the person who opened the door was Hansel Zigun. Hansel Zigun pretended to be the hostess, saying that Zigun was resting, and told the bunny to give her things. Bunny is not committed, asking Hansel Zigun to text him back that he has come. Zigun didn't know it. When he woke up to see Hansel Zigun at his house, he was startled and sat up immediately. Ask her to keep her distance, don't appear arbitrarily. But in Hansel Zigun's eyes, the fact that Zigun didn't change the door lock password was still attached to the past. Zigun didn't want to explain much, saw the porridge and the computer on the table, and asked if anyone had just arrived. Hansel Zigun hid the fact that the person who came was a bunny, only vaguely saying that a friend stopped by. The next day, the school's festival officially took place, and Zigun's sister asked him to come with her to see the exhibition. But Zigun flatly refused, saying that he had promised to accompany the bunny during the festival. After that, ignoring his sister's sulky gaze, he hurriedly went to find the bunny. The festival was crowded with people. Zigun was busy taking pictures but occasionally glanced at the bunny and Zigun standing together. The bunny's eyes also involuntarily turned towards him. Hansel Zigun, as the host, recognized the delicate atmosphere between the two. I deliberately asked Zigun to help me adjust my listening hand. Bunny saw their intimate gesture and felt uncomfortable in her heart. Zigun noticed her distant mood and finally asked her if she was okay. This scene caught Zigun's eyes again, and her brother suppressed the jealousy in his heart. All four are caught up in a complicated relationship without knowing it. The boy who played basketball last time was also present at the festival. The festival goes to the most anticipated confession performance. Hansel Zigun took a piece of paper with a confession from the tree and came down. Successful cooperation for an equally loving couple. She took the second piece of paper and discovered that the confessed object was a bunny. She glanced at Zigun, stunned for a moment, then gritted her teeth and invited the bunny to the stage and read the confession aloud. Bunny, I want to celebrate Christmas with you. In the cheers of everyone, the bunny walked on the stage, his eyes involuntarily looking for Zigun. His feet are full of hope. The person who confesses his love is him. However, when Hansel Zigun invited the confessor to the stage, Zigun did not make any moves. Seeing that no boy stepped up, the stage began to gossip. Suspecting that this was just a malicious joke, the bunny was left on stage, both embarrassed and confused. At this moment, Zigon slowly walked out of the crowd, walked onto the stage and stood firmly beside her. Hansel Zigon had to follow the program, inviting Zigon and Bunny to look at each other for 10 seconds on stage. Zigon looked at the bunny fondly, and the bunny also responded to his gaze, but there was no vibration in her eyes. At the end of the event, the bunny asked Zigon why he went on stage. Zigon frankly admitted that the confession card was written by him. While helping the bunny clean up the stage, Zigon puts the cards he has collected in storage. At this time, Zigon came to question why Zigon went on stage. That card was obviously not written by him. Zigon was no longer as patient as ever, but blamed Zigon for having a hard time writing a confession. Yet he didn't dare to stand in front of the bunny, proving that his affection was just that. Zigon hears the irony in Zigon's words, reminding him as Bunny's brother. His current actions have crossed the line. Zigon spoke sharply. I hated his hesitant and indecisive look. I really can't stand the bunny dating a man like you. So I decided to pursue Bunny. After cleaning the stage, everyone found that Zigon had left first and had taken his camera with him. Ben discussed sending someone to look for him. Bunny didn't pay attention to Zigon's obstruction and took the initiative to ask to go. Because when he left, Zigon said he wanted to talk to her clearly. She was curious about what he meant. It was just that she didn't expect that Hansel Zem was in Zigon's office at this time. It turned out that before the bunny arrived, Hansel Zem had brought rice that had not yet come to find the Zigon to celebrate the successful event. Zigon doesn't want to string melons with Hansel Zem anymore. He questioned the reason and the misery that made her suddenly disappear in the past. Hopefully, the two of them will make everything clear, and there will be no more problems in the future. Seeing that Hansel Zem hesitated to answer, he thought that the so-called misery was just her lie. So he got angry, left Hansel Zem behind, and left the office. Hansel was about to leave when the bunny arrived. She warns the bunny that she and Zigon broke up due to force majeure, and that Zigon will soon be back with her. Bunny didn't want Hansel Zem to affect the relationship between him and Zigon. It should be countered that it was not Hansel Zem's turn to intervene in her affair with Zigon. Although she didn't give up on the outside, Bunny was still worried about the relationship between Zigon and Hansel Zem. But she didn't expect Zigon, who decided to pursue her, to take action. He took the initiative to pick her up for school, and pressed the boom to help her fasten her seatbelt. However, as soon as the two arrived at school, they saw a crowd surrounding Hansel Zem, taking pictures and chatting. As it turned out, an article suddenly appeared online saying that Hansel Zem's mother suspected that the debt had piled up and ran away. Hansel saw that everyone around her was pointing at her phone. She was so frightened that her eyebrows were pale, it was difficult to breathe, and the phone also fell to the ground. As soon as she tried to pick up the phone, the Zigon appeared, helped her pick up the phone, and ran away from the encirclement by the hand. The incident has come to this country. Hansel Zem has to tell the truth about the breakup in the past. That year, her mother was deceived in investing, not only losing all her money, but she worked hard to earn more, and her mother also seduced her to besiege the money of Zigon, who had a wealthy family. She didn't dare to tell Zigon about these embarrassing things, but she didn't expect her mother to sneak up on Zigon's mother. She got angry and returned the money and apologized to Zigon's mother. After the family was cheated out of money, she was forced to quit school and go to another place to work. In order to retain the last bit of self-esteem in front of Zigon, she lied that she was studying abroad. Now, she will no longer be inferior because of that embarrassing past. So she has reappeared in front of Zigon, hoping to resume her old love. Knowing the truth, Zigon was extremely heartbroken. To avoid the reporters surrounding Hansel's house, he let her stay in his temporary house, while he slept in his office. On the other hand, the bunny didn't know what was going on. She kept remembering the image of the Zigon of the Hansel Zumni. Combined with the content of the article, she believes that the two have their own sorrows and will soon get back together. Because she was lost in thought, the bunny didn't pay attention to the bucket that her classmate pushed behind her and was about to hit us. Fortunately, Zigon was quick and quick-witted, rushing to shield her. Looking at Zigon's face, Bunny remembered the moment they looked at each other on stage and when Zigon tried to help her fasten her seatbelt. But such a handsome, warm Zigon did not make her heart flutter. She thanked Zigon for saving her, and Zigon took the opportunity to invite her to dinner on the weekend. At the same time, at Hansel's request, Zizan went to their old classroom. That year, after receiving the admission notice, the two sneaked into the university classroom to see where they would study in the future. Hansels happily wrote on the text Zizan liked Hansel's, hoping that the love between the two would always be sweet and warm. Zizan woke up from his memories. The memories were beautiful, but unfortunately they couldn't go back now. Coming out of the classroom, the two of them happened to meet Bunny and Zizan, who had just come out of the drawing room. Zizan and the bunny looked at each other, their eyes filled with emotions that were difficult to put into words. Hansels realized the tension between the two, and she immediately grabbed Zizan's sleeve in front of the bunny. Use possessive actions to declare your relationship with Zizan. Zizan saw that the bunny was sad, and immediately took her away. On the weekend, Zizan and Bunny go to dinner, and Bunny's happy face when shopping makes Zizan very happy. Suddenly it was raining heavily. Zizan went to buy an umbrella, and led the bunny to wait on the spot. Bunny stood by the window watching the rain. She couldn't help but remember the scene where she and Zizan ran in the rain. She didn't know that Zizan was also watching the rain and thinking about her at this time. On the other side, Zizan was also dragged by Hansel Zium to go shopping. He couldn't share the joy with Hansel Zium, always thinking of the bunny. When Zizan takes the bunny to the restaurant for dinner, coincidentally, as soon as they entered the door, they met Zizan and Hansel Zium. The four of them looked at each other. The atmosphere was extremely embarrassed. At this moment, the waiter didn't have the slightest hint of observance to say that the other tables were already seated. Ask four people to sit at the same table. When Zizan and Bunny sat down, Hansel Zium deliberately bonded the two. Asked after confessing their love, they were officially dating, praising them as a natural couple. Bunny was restless. Her hands spilled water on her clothes, and she ran to the toilet to wipe it. Zizan also stood still, chasing and waiting in front of the toilet door. Zizan asks if Bunny is dating Zizan. Seeing that she was close to Zizan, he felt very uncomfortable. Bunny sarcastically said that he didn't have the right to manage her affairs. In the future, the two of you should not interfere in each other's affairs anymore. Returning to his seat, Zizan kindly took the bunny away. Hansel Zizan was not satisfied because Zizan kept flying around because of the bunny. Zizan couldn't stand it anymore. He seriously told Hansel Zizan that even though they broke up in the past because Hansel Zizan had his own misery, but now he can't go back to her anymore because he liked Bunny. He ignored the crying Hansel Zizan, apologized, and got up to chase after the bunny. Bunny heard his call and immediately stopped. Zizan grabbed Bunny's hand, not letting her go. But Bunny resolutely removed the Zizan's hand and walked towards the Zizan. This time, Zizan no longer hesitated, he confessed loudly. Bunny also no longer suppressed his feelings, tiptoed up and kissed Zizan, using actions to reciprocate his feelings. Just yesterday, Bunny and Zizan officially dated. The two went to school hand in hand and publicized their feelings. Witnessing the intimate scene of the two of them, Zizan couldn't help but run away. Bunny apologizes to Zizan and honestly says that she trusts Zizan's sincere feelings, hoping to go further with him. Zizan congratulates the bunny on achieving her wish and tells her not to worry about him. However, looking at the gift that had not yet been given, he felt sorry for the mountain. After that, Bunny fell in love with Zizan as well as many other couples in love. They dated, walked the streets, and experienced activities for lovers together. Zizan went into the kitchen to cook for the bunny himself, and the bunny helped him mend his relationship with his mother. Time has faded. From spring to autumn, they have been together for 100 days. However, in the midst of the sweetness, neither of them realized that a storm was quietly coming. Bunny's ex-boyfriend was expelled from school because of the previous breakup. Today, he suddenly appeared at school. He saw a photo of Zizan confessing his love to Bunny during the festival on the forum and misunderstood that the two were dating. Knowing that Zizan is the son of a family in Vietnam, he feels dissatisfied. Given that you live miserably, don't be happy. At this time, Bunny and Zizan had just finished school, and Zizan invited Bunny to dinner. A female student who secretly liked Zizan had previously asked Bunny to give her the opportunity to be alone with him. Bunny refused Zizan's invitation and let him go with the other friend. Zizan didn't think much about it and went to the cafeteria with that friend. And Bunny was alone in the studio, busy with the endofire work. She wants to try to get the highest score to win a scholarship. At this moment, her ex-boyfriend squeezed into the drawing room, criticizing the bunny ruined his life while happily dating him. He even suspected that the bunny had intended to abandon him in the first place to flirt with the rich prince. Bunny hurriedly explained that she and Zegan had no relationship, but her ex-boyfriend didn't give her a chance, and she was the most angry. At a critical moment, Zizan called, and just as the bunny had called for help, the hammer had come down. Bunny watched the sculpture shatter, angrily scolding her ex-boyfriend for being crazy. But he had lost all reason, and he was going to attack her again. At the moment when 1,000 pounds hung by a hair, Zegan rushed in, put her ex-boyfriend on the table and ordered the bunny to call the police. The other guy took the opportunity to hit the injured Zegan. Fortunately, the police arrived in time and took him away. At this time, Zizan ran to the bunny with a sigh of relief, anxiously asking if she was injured and apologizing for being late. The ex-boyfriend didn't give up, shouting that he just wanted to talk to the bunny, and her boyfriend took the first step. Zizan understood that he had mistaken Zegan for Bunny's boyfriend. On the way to take the bunny home, Zizan once again apologized for not making it in time. Bunny didn't blame him, but also blamed himself for making him nervous. The sculpture was broken, and the bunny had to retake the endofire exam. She was worried that she would not be able to make it in time and would not receive the scholarship in the end, adding to the economic burden on parents. Zegan promised to do his best to help her. The two friends who made the statue also offered to help. One of the girls took out her phone and suddenly saw on the forum that someone posted about the bunny. It turns out that someone has spread the story of the heroic Zegan saving the beauty online, making many people mistake Zegan for Bunny's boyfriend. She is jealous because she has a boyfriend who is both handsome, rich and sober. Bunny was worried that Zegan would misunderstand. She immediately called him, tell him not to bother about what is online. Zegan comforted her again, saying that he wouldn't pay attention to people who didn't understand. He was her official boyfriend after all. To assert his sovereignty, Zegan brought late-night food to the drawing room to find the bunny. Seeing Bunny and Zegan standing close to each other while editing the work, his roommate joked that he was not to blame for the rumors about the two of them. Zegan pretended not to care, telling the two to eat first and then move on. But while eating, he bluntly said that all of these foods were bought for Bunny, implying that Zegan was redundant. Zegan didn't let go of his stomach. Seeing that the bunny's sleeve was about to touch the food, he hurriedly stretched out his hand to block it, reminding the bunny to be careful. After regaining his spirit, he felt that his actions just now were a little wrong, so he hurriedly explained to Zegan that he was just a natural reflex. Feeling a strange atmosphere, Bunny got up and went to the bathroom. Zegan no longer hid the jealousy in his heart, seriously warned Zegan to keep his distance from the bunny, to complete the final work as soon as possible. Bunny worked hard in the studio every day, and Zegan always stayed to help her. Today, the bunny worked until late at night. The phone ran out of battery and turned off the power. I can't see the message Zegan sent. Zegan waited all night without seeing the bunny answer, and he couldn't make a phone call, so he was extremely shy. He hurriedly went to the bunny's house, and when he saw that she had eaten safely, he was relieved. Bunny's parents enthusiastically welcomed him. Not only did he praise him for his handsomeness, but he was also very happy that he liked home-cooked food. Zegan has not felt the warmth of his family for a long time. He is jealous that the bunny has loving parents. At the same time, he asked that in the future, no matter how late the bunny is, he must not lose contact. One night after waking up working, Zegan saw the bunny falling asleep on the sofa. He was going to walk over and cover her legs, but he tried to hold back, reminding himself that the bunny already had a boyfriend. Until he was about to go home and the bunny still hadn't woken up. He gently put his foot on her, afraid that she would get cold. But this scene was seen by Zegan at the right time. Zegan looked at Zegan with a dissatisfied expression and woke up the bunny, wanting to take her home. The next day, it was the turn of the bunny and her friends to be commented on by the teacher. Unfortunately, the bunny did not achieve the highest score. She was worried that she would lose the scholarship. Zegan comforted the bunny, telling her to try harder next time. Bunny didn't have time to say anything when she received a phone call from her mother. Hearing her mother cry that she was at the police station, she hurriedly ran there. It turned out that her father was sensitive, gullible, invested 50 million guan according to an acquaintance and was deceived. He originally intended to make money to improve his family's economic situation. Even if the bunny doesn't have a scholarship, she doesn't have to worry about tuition fees, and she doesn't expect to lose it. Bunny returned home in a state of anxiety. At this time, she received a phone call from Zigon. He excitedly announced that his entry had reached the final round and would definitely win the prize. Bunny first congratulates Zigon. She then appeared comfortable, saying that her work was not appreciated the most, and that she needed to keep trying. Zigon invites her to join him and his roommate's congratulatory party. She hid her family's story, lied that she had been staying up late and tired these days, and wanted to rest well. After hanging up the phone, 2 roommates invited her out to relax. Both her roommates and the Zigon already knew about her house, and drank with her to relieve her sadness. Not knowing what happened on the way to the party, Zigon stopped. He told his roommates to go on their own, and I would go back with the bunny, but he couldn't call the bunny. Shortly afterwards, he receives a phone call from his roommate, informing him that Bunny is with Zigon and the others. Zigon hurried to the bunny. At this time, the meal of the 4 members of the bunny group had just ended. The 2 roommates would reject each other's axes and leave. Zigon gave the bunny sitting on the side of the road to get drunk. Seeing that the bunny was tired, he let her head rest on his shoulder. The scene of the bunny leaning on Zigon's shoulder is what Zigon saw when he arrived. He immediately rushed over to hug the bunny, his eyes full of anger and hostility looking at Zigon. When the bunny woke up from last night's car, the images of the confrontation between Zigon and Zigon, the same scene of Zigon taking her home, appeared in her mind one after another. Bunny sought out the Zigon to explain that she had been dragged out for a drink by 2 roommates. After speaking, she stretched out her hand towards Zigon, hoping for his forgiveness. However, Zigon was still angry, refusing the bunny's conciliatory fist. The bunny was extremely sad. In order to avoid similar misunderstandings from occurring, she sought out Zigon, said that there were rumors in the school about their relationship, and so that Zigon doesn't misunderstand anymore, she will keep her distance from Zigon in the future. At this time, Zigon was still angry in the studio, and his roommate ordered food for him. What is surprising is that the delivery person is the bunny's father. Bunny's dad told Zigon that the family was struggling financially. I hope you keep the fact that you go to deliver a secret. Zigon agreed to keep this a secret on Bunny's side. She gets a rare opportunity. The teacher gave her a flyer about the scholarship program abroad. She can apply to the New York School of Fine Arts for a year, with all tuition fees and living expenses supported. The teacher also said that no one in the school had applied for this scholarship before, but she was very confident in the bunny's work and would write her a letter of recommendation. Back home, the bunny submits the application and completes the necessary procedures. She wanted to find the Zigon to make amends, but when she opened the door, she saw the Zigon standing in front of her house. The bunny's mother enthusiastically invited Zigon into the house to eat, and also specially created a separate space for the children. Zigon asked the bunny why he drank so much that day. Bunny immediately told all the stories about his father being scammed. At that time, she was about to tell Zigon, but he had just received the good news that the work had been chosen. She didn't want to ruin her boyfriend's mood. After understanding everything, Zigon sat down in front of the bunny, asked him to tell him no matter what happens in the future, because he wants to be the one who is always by her side. Bunny nodded in agreement, then told Zigon that he had applied to study in New York for a year. Because he had just registered, the results were not available, so Zigon did not show much emotion. After that, the 2 watched a photo album of Bunny's childhood together. A bunny photo taken with a boy caught Zigon's attention. Next to the photo is the words Bunny and Hune love each other. Zigon asks the bunny if Hune is her first love. Bunny hesitated to say that Hune was just a neighbor, and at the same time, she hid the photo album, not wanting Zigon to take a closer look. The 2 competed for the album, inadvertently getting closer. At that moment, the bunny's father suddenly opened the door. The 2 hurriedly separated, and Bunny's father called them out to watch the snowfall. His father stood in front of the door, watching the snowfall, being by the side of her loving parents and loved ones. At this moment, the bunny felt extremely happy. After a stressful interview, Bunny was accepted into the scholarship program. Her parents were so happy that they were speechless, extremely proud of their talented daughter. All this time, Bunny has always tried to keep his distance from Zigon, so Zigon didn't know she was going to study in the United States. While sad, Zigon suddenly received a phone call from his sister. My sister said she wanted to go to the US to get used to life before entering school, and wants Zigon to reserve a year to go with it. Zigon looked at the gift that had not yet been given to the bunny, and remembered the bunny's words that he wanted to keep his distance. In his heart, he agreed to his sister's request. At the same time, Bunny asked Zizan to go out to eat to congratulate him on his successful scholarship application. As soon as he sat down, Zizan received a message from Bunny's father. It turned out that the bunny's father came to this restaurant to get food delivered and asked Zizan to distract his daughter. Zizan deliberately sat close to the bunny, afraid that she would find out something. However, when he turned his head, the bunny still saw the shadow of the delivery man's back, feeling very much like his father. To hide the truth, Zizan said that he saw the delivery man's face and confirmed that it was not Daddy Bunny. Bunny believed his words and didn't think anything more. After the meal, Zizan suddenly received a phone call from the hospital, informing him that Bunny's father had a traffic accident and was being treated for an emergency. The two rushed to the hospital, saw that their father was still wearing a delivery uniform. Bunny immediately understood that the delivery person just now was her father. The nurse said that Bunny's father had broken bones in his right arm and leg and needed urgent surgery. However, the hospital surgery schedule is closed and other hospitals are being contacted, but the situation is not positive. Seeing that Bunny's mother and daughter were worried, Zizan had to contact Zigan because this is a hospital belonging to the Zigan family's group. Zigan found a professor on leave to personally operate on Bunny's father. The surgery was very successful. Bunny and Mom constantly thanked Zigan. Zizan also thanked Zigan, who in turn thanked Zizan for contacting him. Bunny was surprised to learn that the person the hospital contacted when her father encountered it was Zizan, not her. At this time, Zizan confessed that he knew Bunny's dad was on delivery and had promised to keep it a secret. He blamed himself for not being able to help in this. Bunny held his hand and comforted him, saying that the fact that Zizan was always by her side today was the greatest comfort. The day Bunny's father was discharged from the hospital was also on Christmas. The whole family invited Zizan to come early to decorate the room together and enjoy dinner. When she went shopping, Bunny's mother happened to meet Zigan in front of the house. She asked Zigan if he had to come to find the bunny. Zigan lied that he just walked by and hurriedly left. Bunny's mother told her daughter about meeting Zigan. Bunny guessed that Zigan came to find him, said to Zizan for a while, and then hurriedly ran out to call Zigan back, ask him if he has anything to say to her. Zigan said that he was going to New York with his sister, so he came to say goodbye to her. Zigan kept stumbling and still couldn't give the gift in his hand to the bunny. Bunny also doesn't tell Zigan that she's going to New York as well. Back in the room, the bunny honestly told Zizan that Zigan was also coming to New York and had come to say goodbye to her. Afraid that Zizan would be upset, she hurriedly explained that Zigan didn't know that she would also go to the United States, and promised not to contact Zigan when he went there. Although the bunny has promised many times, Zizan still can't help but be jealous. Long-distance love had made him miserable. Now that he knew that Zigan and Bunny would come to the same city, it was even harder for him to accept. Zizan manipulated the bunny, hoping that she would stay for him. Bunny comforts him, promising not to see Zigan when he goes to the United States, hoping that Zizan will trust her. But Zizan couldn't rest assured. The two were not happy to break up. Bunny asks her mother that between her career and the person she loves, she doesn't want to give up anything. How to balance. Her mother advised that no one can predict the future, but always listen to your heart now. Don't let yourself regret it. The next day, the bunny took the initiative to meet with Zizan to express his opinion. She didn't want to miss this precious opportunity and hoped that Zizan would understand. Zizan asked why the bunny didn't sympathize with him, because in this matter he really couldn't give in. Bunny realized that Zizan wanted to break up. She was willing to wait for his answer. Hopefully, the two will not go their separate ways because of this. Crazy Begging is also listening to the bunny on the road. She texted Zizan, hoping to see him one last time before leaving. At that time, Zizan was participating in the selection of works, so he did not respond to messages. Bunny was taken to the airport by her parents and two roommates. She looked around, but saw no shadow of Zizan anywhere. At this time, Zizan remembered every moment with the bunny, and the fear of losing her was raised in his heart. He handed over the task of displaying the work to his roommate and then rushed to the airport. But he was late, and the bunny's plane had already taken off. Zizan saw the message sent by the bunny, telling him to stay healthy. Her heart is full of regret for missing the opportunity to approach her. Zizan ran to the airport to go to the bunny, but unfortunately the two missed each other. He sadly deleted the bunny's birthday reminder on his phone, soaking to admit that this love affair was over. A year later, Bunny completed her studies and returned to Korea. The first thing she did was meet with her 2 roommates to review the old story. During the conversation, a friend accidentally mentioned Zizan. Bunny suddenly fell in love. For the past year, she and Zizan have not been in contact. Thinking about having to go back to school tomorrow to avoid an awkward situation, she sincerely hoped that she would not encounter Zizan. However, fate waited, the 2 chose the same class. Zizan's roommate came to the previous class, saw the bunny and ran outside to stop Zizan, advise him to skip one class and choose another. Zizan didn't understand what was going on, and immediately took the opportunity to enter the class. The moment he saw the bunny, he held back, his eyes couldn't leave. Bunny also looked at him innocently. The nostalgia in his heart surged like a rolling wave. When it was time for class, both of them retracted their eyes, trying to regain their composure. But throughout the class, the bunny's eyes still unconsciously turned towards the shadow of Zizan's back. That is the person she longs for day and night. Even though the current relationship is no longer the same as before, she still can't forget this feeling. And Zizan couldn't stand the feeling of being stupid when he was in the same space as the bunny, so as soon as school ended, he hurriedly left the class. Bunny walked out of the classroom with a disappointed expression. At this time, Zizan, who returned home a little later, called her back. The 2 sat down to chat. Zizan asked her if she had seen Zizan, and Bunny honestly told her everything. She thought that after meeting again, she would be able to go back to the way she was before, but it seems that Zizan was determined with no intention of making amends. Zizan couldn't bear to look at her sadly, and immediately called 2 more roommates. The 4 of them went shopping and played games together. Bunny loses and has to pay a penalty to buy water for the other 3. When she walked out of the convenience store, the water cans in her hands suddenly fell to the ground. At that moment, she met Zizan again, and it turned out that Zizan was also gathering with friends. The daytime meeting confused him forever, so he went outside to enjoy the breeze a little. I didn't expect to meet the bunny again. The tense emotions made him awkwardly greet. Realizing his awkwardness, the bunny hurriedly picked up the can of water and was about to leave. Unexpectedly, Zizan was so stressed that he accidentally opened the water can, and the water bubbles splashed out of his hand. He couldn't keep his composure anymore, and hurriedly went back to the convenience store to throw away the can of water. After that small situation, the bunny continued his academic life. She went to the library to work part-time, and she didn't expect to see Zizan here again. The 2 collided with each other, and Zizan hurriedly apologized and quickly left. Bunny looked at the shadow behind him, disappointed that the distance between the 2 of them was getting farther and farther, to the point where he can't talk normally anymore. Zizan had just left the library when his roommate told him that the bunny might be leaving the class with him. Anyway, studying with your ex is very awkward. After thinking about it, he took the initiative to quit the class, hoping not to affect the bunny for him. At this time, Zizan saw the bunny hanging the banner alone. Seeing that the banner was about to fall, she had a hard time managing it alone, so he stepped forward to help. As soon as Bunny saw Zizan, he remembered his confession when he was drunk. Beautiful memories are still imprinted in my heart, but unfortunately, now everything is different. Zizan helped her hang up the banner, and then gently told the bunny that he was going to quit this class. He will not appear in front of her in the future. He thought that doing so would make the bunny feel more comfortable, but unexpectedly, she felt extremely inadequate. On the way home, the bunny was stopped by a flyer handing out a dinosaur costume. She uncomfortably refused to accept the leaflet. However, the moment that person takes off his hood, she was surprised to realize that the person in front of her was Huino, her neighbor and first love. She happily exclaimed, since Huino moved out, the 2 of them hadn't seen each other for 6 years. Huino remembered that he used to go to bunny school to play basketball, and he saw her at that time but didn't say it, but only quietly befriended her on social networks. Not knowing about the appearance of the bunny's first love, Zizan was invited to participate in a program. The other guest was Huino. Zizan, who was not interested in the program, he didn't know Huino either, so he just said he would consider it. After meeting the person who planned the show, Zizan suddenly came to him. Blaming myself became the cause of the breakup of the 2. Now he has completely let go of his feelings for the bunny, only treating her as a sister. Zizan also told Zizan, whether in South Korea or the United States, in the bunny's heart he was the only one. I hope you don't miss it. As soon as he spoke, Huino went over and asked for directions to the other department. Zizan felt that Huino seemed familiar. It wasn't until he saw the bunny with him that he remembered that he had seen Huino in the bunny's photo album. It was her first love. Knowing that Huino was a guest on the show with him, Zizan's curiosity arose, and he immediately agreed to participate. Bunny had no idea how Huino's appearance had mixed Zizan's mind. She asked if Huino had come to find her on purpose. Huino honestly said that he came here to play basketball. I had seen her around the football field, and even participated in the school festival. The form of the confession letter for her to go out for Christmas was written by him. Bunny always thought it was Zigin or Zizan, but he didn't expect it to be Huino. Before breaking up, Huino asked her to go with her on the weekend to record the show, and the bunny agreed immediately. Right at the recording, under everyone's eyes, the dashing Zizan walked into the studio. He regards Huino as an enemy. During the filming process, he always tries to overwhelm the opponent, attract the attention of the bunny. In the interview, the host asked if the two were in love. Zizan looked at the bunny and slowly replied that he didn't have a lover at the moment. Huino also looked at the bunny, saying that the person he liked was always his first love. At the end of the program, the planner gave 2 people tickets to the hot air balloon. Let them take their favorite person with them. Huino immediately handed the ticket to the bunny, inviting her to go with her tomorrow night. Bunny looked at Zizan, but couldn't resist Huino's earnest gaze, and finally agreed. Zizan couldn't calm down anymore to keep an eye on the two of them. He immediately invited his roommate to accompany him, but was refused. After that, he stopped the intention of dragging Zigin to follow. Bunny pulled the cotton ball from Zizan's hand, feeling that it was strange for the 2 men to go on a hot air balloon together. It wasn't until he discovered that Zizan was staring at the bunny in front of him that he understood his purpose. Zigin couldn't stand Zizan's hesitation, and immediately reminded him that if he didn't act immediately, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Seeing that Bunny and Huino were about to board the hot air balloon, Zizan finally took all the courage to walk forward, pulling the bunny back, not wanting her to get on the hot air balloon with another man. Zizan and Huino revolve around the bunny, starting a fierce emotional war. Bunny listened to his heart, giving Zizan a chance to explain, wanting to know why he prevented him from going to the hot air balloon. Zizan honestly said that since the bunny returned home, the two have not had a chance to have a good conversation. He asked Han about her life in the United States, sorry for not understanding how you felt before you went to study abroad, and said that if time went back, he would definitely say goodbye to her properly. However, the bunny misunderstood this statement, thinking that Zizan only wanted to make up for the farewell in the past that he hadn't said directly. He angrily left to look for Huino. She was a little disappointed in her heart for Huino. I thought that Zizan came to resume her old love, but she was just polyamorous herself. Seeing that the 2 people had not shown signs of returning, Huino frankly said that the first love he mentioned in the show was Bunny, and announced that he would officially pursue her from now on. In another place, Zizan pulled Zigin away for a long and sad drink. Hatred for herself was always so tense that she couldn't speak in front of the bunny, intending to want to heal but making the relationship worse. Both soft cars were taken home by Zizan's roommate. When they woke up the next morning, they found themselves hugging each other and sleeping all night. Both of them were embarrassed and hurriedly separated. Zizan and his roommate are about to submit the finished ad to the client, but suddenly discovered that the hard drive was missing. Zizan remembered carefully that he remembered last night when he went to look for the bunny, accidentally forgot the hard drive on the taxi. The submission time is near. A lost hard drive means that all efforts are in vain. Zizan's roommate cried and told the incident to Bunny's roommate. This scene happened to be heard by a bunny while he was with Huino, despite having made an appointment to hang out with Huino. But Bunny was always worried about Zizan's situation. She couldn't deceive her heart, immediately apologized to Huino and ran to Zizan's side, decided to find the hard drive with him. When the two arrived at the taxi company, they learned that the driver was on leave to return to their hometown. They decided to go to the driver's house. Arrive at the village where the driver lives. They asked the owner of the convenience store about the driver's home address. At that moment, the landlady went out to pour water, almost throwing water at the bunny. Zizan quickly shielded her. Her back was completely wet. The landlady took Zizan's shirt instead. She said the driver was taking her mother on a beach trip. Before returning, the two immediately asked the hostess to cook instant noodles. Taking this opportunity, Zizan asked the bunny why he agreed to go with him. Bunny forced her mouth to say that she was very worried about him. Hearing this, Zizan couldn't suppress the feelings in his heart anymore. Boldly confessing his love for the past year, he misses the bunny very much. Before the bunny could answer, the owner brought good news: the driver had returned. The two of them retrieved the hard drive and hitchhiked the driver's car back to Seoul. She said that missing Zizan's brother made the bunny's heart flutter. She guessed that Zizan was still in love with her. Now between the two of them, there is only one word missing to resume the old love. The next day, the bunny explained to the brother the reason why she had to go first last night. Brother soon realized her feelings for Zizan, so she decided to return to be friends, wishing her wholeheartedly prayers. While working part-time, the bunny happened to see a flyer advertising the interview of Zizan and his brother. In the interview, Zizan admitted the reason he hasn't fallen in love with anyone. It's because I'm always waiting for my ex-lover who broke up with me a year ago. He really loved her. Bunny immediately felt his affection, eager to meet Zizan. At that moment, Zizan called to say that he had something to say, and the two hurriedly ran to each other. Bunny rushed into Zizan's arms, confessing that she had never forgotten him, always waiting for the day to return. Zizan couldn't hold back his emotions anymore, and kissed her passionately. The two lovers are finally back together. Zizan held hands to take the bunny home, and when he kissed goodbye at the door, he was suddenly caught by the bunny's father. After a year, Zizan once again walked into the bunny's house, staring at the flower basket on the wall. The bunny's mother remembered the old story. After the bunny went abroad, the two grandparents received 2 baskets of flowers on the day of the Vulan holiday. Knowing that it was not his daughter's gift, he guessed that it was Zizan's heart. The news that the two returned was supported by Bunny's parents. Zizan also actively invited his mother to eat, announced the good news, and under the influence of the bunny, he has learned to understand his mother, no longer interfering in her love affairs. When Zizan's mother came to clean her son's room, she happened to meet Bunny's parents who came to bring food. Both parties are very satisfied with this couple. After chatting happily, the 3 of them quietly left, but the space was private for the children. Previously, when shopping, Bunny wanted to buy a double ring but was stopped by Zizan. At this time, he took out the ring that had been prepared in advance, bent down and put it on the bunny's hand, saying that he has been buying this gift since he received his first salary. He has always been waiting for this moment. Bunny puts the other ring on Zizan's hand. The two hugged each other passionately, promising to never be apart again. When the 1-month leave ended, Zigan had to go back to the United States with his sister as scheduled. But her sister decided to go back on her own, hoping that her brother would stay in Korea. 10 years after the car name, she has been teaching Zigan for 10 years. Now that her sister has friends and a new life, she hopes that Zigan will not be involved with her anymore. Be bold in pursuing your dreams. Zigan came to work at the family corporation with a letter of apprenticeship. Determination starts from the lowest position, gradually matures. And Zizan, who is about to graduate, has also found a direction for work. Bunny also met the art director with whom she had collaborated for 10 years, and her work gradually prospered. Everyone's life is going in a good direction. Preparing for the date, Bunny and Zizan kiss under the poplar tree in the school. People who are predestined, no matter how far they go, will eventually return together. They have never regretted falling in love with each other.